Hello and thank you for joining us on today's edition of Gender Agenda. I am Adora Konyechere and you are welcome to the show. Please remember you can connect with us via any of our social media handles now displayed. They will be displayed on the screen for your views and comments on the program. Now, we would continue from where we stopped last week on the presidential candidates and the non-inclusion context as a race to the 2023 general election draws closer. The issues remain at the front burner as the non-inclusion of women keeps generating reactions, especially after the promises by political parties and the men themselves to give women the spaces for elective and appointive positions. And we will still be joined by our guest from last week, Hawa Gambo, a candidate of the Action Democratic Party and Chinkung and Kajuru Federal Constituency of Kaduna State for the seat in the House of Representatives. And that will be definitely after About Now and Voices segments. To stay with us, we'll be right back.
The wife of the Bauchi State Governor, Aisha Mohammed, has urged traditional, religious, and community to constantly preach the gospel of peace to their adherents in an effort to reduce national insecurity. She also urged Nigerian leaders to prioritize peace so that people can enjoy the benefits of democracy. She further urged parents to keep an eye on children's activities to prevent them from becoming friends with undesirable people who will encourage them to commit crimes. The First Lady spoke at the Women for Peace Culture and Art exhibition at the official launch of Gender Strategy Advancement International GSAI Baseline Report in Abuja. According to her, the fight against banditry, kidnapping and terrorism should be a collective responsibility, although government has the higher responsibility.
It's quite unfortunate that most of the part of the country have over the years been facing security challenges to include terrorism, banditry, pipeline vandalism, among other violence and crimes. The negative development has continued to create havoc to the lives of people, especially women who are most vulnerable. The International Day of Remembrance and Attribute to the Victim of Terrorism is quite imperative, as it is aimed at promoting, protecting the full enjoyment of their human rights and fundamental freedom.
Parents are expected to shoulder their responsibility of assuring proper upbringing of their children through provision of sound education to guarantee a brighter future. Political will is also required from the politicians as policymakers. They should come up with its concrete ideas that will improve as well as to ease difficulty being experienced in fighting for education and other means of livelihood.
The attention of all the relevant stakeholders to give more attention to the root cause of such vices with a view to find a lasting solution to the insecurity burdening most of our communities.
All involving art, culture, and empowerment. We want to evolve into many more. The beginning of today's artwork is the beginning of one.
For acknowledging the role of UNESCO around the issues that concerns gender, and obviously of more importance, the role of women in peace, mediation, reconciliation in a time like this.
The core of this conversation is really how to end terrorism in Nigeria, how to stop you and me from gathering every year to remember the dead rather than to celebrate the living.
In every event, where you talk, you can see the passion. Like somebody said, if you empower women, you empower the entire nation.
Women's political participation in Nigeria, a baseline report. To greater heights for the women of Nigeria.
This is indeed a very powerful occasion, and I want to assure you that UNESCO will surely partner with this particular organization.
Other speakers at the event were the Nigerian Female Artists Association, Director of Culture Ngozi Akande, Chairman Board of Trustees, Gender Strategy Advancement International, Ezenwa Nwagu, Director, Korean Cultural Center, Director, Culture, UNESCO, Head Gender Unit, Nigerian Police, Representative of the Chief of Defense, Chairman, NUJ FCT Chapter, Ima Ogbeche, Amina Salihu MacArthur Foundation, Former Permanent Secretary, Women Affairs, Antonia Ekpa, representative of the Bauchi State Governor, Iyobosa Wujaren, President, Nigerian Guild of Editors, amongst others.
Ndị na n'ikekwa onye ka nna n'onu ihe Adam ngo ke ihe na-ebere akwa ndị na n'ike kwache m na ya akọchaghị akụkọ a ndị na n'ikekwa
ya ndị COVID na ndị ndọ 2020 a ọ dịkwa egwu lọọ
abatago m a na-ekwukwa maka ndị ntọ nke na-eme na be m ka njọ nna anyị
na gịnị mere
maka ndị na n'ike a na
ndị na n'ike kwa
nye nwa bụ okwu akpụ n'ọnụ
obi onye ọbụla na-afịkiru
nna anyị ị kwesịrị ime ihe n'ịbụ onye nze
gịnị obi
ị na-ebe anụ edina nwanne m n'ike ọ bụghị ndị uwe ojii ka ịkpọ ọ bụghị ụmụnna ka ịkpọ ị na-ajụ m
ndị uwe ojii na bema
nna anyị ịbụ okenye ịbụ onye nze ịma nọrọ n'ụlọ ewu amụọ n'ọgbede nna anyị
ọ bụ mbụ
nna anyị mee ihe n'ịbụ nwoke nna anyị nna anyị biko mee ihe kwesịrị
unu ahụgonu unu egegonu ihe niile ekwuru ebe a ndị nne ndị nna ụmụnne anyị ndị ikwu na ibe bikonu ka anyị jikọlọta n'aka wee kwụsị ihe gbasara ndina n'ike ajọka unu hụ ihe ọjọọ kwupụtanụ ya unu nụkwa n'ihe ọjọọ unu kwupụtanụ ya ana m arịọ unu ka anyị kwụsị ihe gbasara ndina n'ike kwụsị ndina n'ike.
Somewhere in Nigeria, a girl is caught, cuffed, and carted off abroad like Kunta Kinte. Enslaved, she's trained in the art of war, the type that teaches you how to use your body as naked weapon to fight hunger. And every night the girl be praying, Lord, when will you send the Harriet Tubman to come save me from my slavery? Somewhere in Nigeria is a little lady, Fatih. She's barely 12, but ding dong goes her wedding bells. This very girl, still learning to wear her sanitary pad, will be starting a family now. Cause wedlock beckons on. At 14, she's nursing her second son, a child bearing the weight of childbearing somewhere in Nigeria. Is a scared girl begging, please stop. But you know how the story goes, boys will be boys. And the law turns a blind eyes. The rapist goes scot-free. At best, we give the girl the courtesy of a hashtag. Somewhere in Nigeria is you. You turn your wife's body into canvas. You are Da Vinci, the great painter. And so you paint her black and blue, but she don't pack or move. She becomes the wife of Lot. A pillar of salt, stuck in a spot, watching her home burn down, but she can't run now because she's been taught that a good wife is like diapers, always there to take your shit in. But in another story, we did not die. In another story, our country was drop dead gorgeous, but she did not take our breath away. Cause in another story, the right to life was not a myth. So the SARS officer did not scream, I go waste your life here and nobody go talk me. And his guns did not grow hands, did not pick up shovels, did not dig hole in your brother's chest 6 feet deep enough to bury bullets in. In another story, your brother came back home. Even with his dreadlocks and laptop bag, he came back whole. In another story, your mother's soul did not have to leave her sick body because the whole country had a blackout right in the middle of her surgery. In another story, the fundings for social amenities knew how to use Google Maps, so the money did not have to miss road. In another story, the grass was not greener on the other side because motherland was loamy soil enough, because government policies were manure enough, so we planted our dreams and ideas right here, setting that it would sprout here. In another story, our economy was no nightmare. And I did modern right poems, and you did modern right songs, because we knew sometimes the punchline is not in the wordplay, but in the next line of action. In another story, we were more than keypad warriors, and we never gave middle fingers every time our country called us for a thumb fight. In another story, queuing to vote was not the same as saying, our lives are on the line, literally. Look, we are on cue. Go ahead and shoot. In another story, hungry youth refused to take guns, to steal ballot boxes for the same ones who took food away from their mouths just so they could make a weapon of their hunger. And the voters no longer take side with corrupt politicians because they were of the same tribe or the same religion. In another story, we shook loose the grip of the Stockholm Syndrome. And for every time we untie our tongue, a chorus of questions fall out. We all ask, how much longer will it safe to be a distant memory? How much longer will this country continue to write us into an anthology of sad stories? A train in Kaduna, a toll gate in Lekki, a church in a war, a burnt offering in Sokoto, and the other tragedies that go from hashtag to forgotten. In another story, the youth are rising. We no longer run. To the polls we went. PVC in hands we voted. Leaders competent and devoted. In another story, we are reclaiming our country from the claws of kleptomania fingers. In another story, we did not run. Instead, the history book said, there goes a generation who march into the next election saying, if good governance is dead, let our vote be the resurrection.
Ndị na n'ike kwa onye ka nna n'onu ha Adam ngo ke ihe na-ebere akwa ndị na n'ike kwache m na ya akọchaghị akụkọ a ndị na n'ike kwa
o ya ndị COVID na ndị ndọ 2020 a ọ dịkwa egwu lọọ
abatago m a na-ekwukwa maka ndị ntọ nke na-eme na be m ka njọ nna anyị
na gịnị mere
maka ndị na n'ike a na-akọ
ndị na n'ike kwa
nye nwa bụ okwu akpụ n'ọnụ
obi onye ọbụla na-afịkiri
nna anyị ị kwesịrị ime ihe n'ịbụ onye nze
gịnị obi
ị na-ebe anụ edina nwanne m n'ike ọ bụghị ndị uwe ojii ka ịkpọ ọ bụghị ụmụnna ka ịkpọ ị na-ajụ m
ndị uwe ojii na bema
nna anyị ịbụ okenye ịbụ onye nze ịma nọrọ n'ụlọ ewu amụọ n'ọgbere
ọ bụ mbụ
nna anyị mee ihe n'ịbụ nwoke nna anyị nna anyị biko mee ihe kwesịrị
unu ahụgonu unu egegonu ihe niile e kwuru ebe a ndị nne ndị nna ụmụnne anyị ndị ikwu na ibe bikonu ka anyị jikọlọta n'aka wee kwụsị ihe gbasara ndina n'ike ajọka unu hụ ihe ọjọọ kwupụtanụ ya unu nụkwa n'ihe ọjọọ unu kwupụtanụ ya ana m arịọ unu ka anyị kwụsị ihe gbasara ndina n'ike.
Kwụsị.
Kwụsị ndina n'ike. Well, thank you for staying with us. And that was a powerful rendition by Lovett. It says, well, in another story, the youths will pick up their PVC and go to the polls and vote out a bad government. And thank you so much, Lovett, for that. That was very insightful and very far-reaching. Well, we start our conversation immediately, and Honorable is here. May I call you that, please? You're already a candidate, so.
It has become increasingly difficult to tell people, I have not won the elections yet. But
to even run is to dare, trust me. So I would say congratulations on you. So going from last week, we talked about the need for women, to support women. And we asked you your story. You talked about the fact that more men were leading in the championing. How do we really bridge that gap?
It's an enormous gap to fill. Before we dive into that conversation, I would like to seek your permission to once again correct that my party is the African Democratic Congress, ADC, not African Democratic Party.
Okay.
You said that
African
again.
Democratic Congress.
Yes.
Producer, take note. Thank you.
So thank you very much for having me back. It is a long and unending conversation, a conversation that we need to keep having repeatedly until it really gets soaked and marinated in the brain and minds of women. Only women can solve women's problems, legislatively, regulatorily, in terms of implementing the laws and pushing for those necessary laws that will protect women's rights, that will ensure women's rights, that will make sure that women are equally represented. Only women can do that. I do know that there are a lot of very like-minded men who are he for she's. I have quite a lot of them supporting me. But we must understand that it is women that can really, only women can really get these laws implemented, accepted and enacted.
Okay, going forward, I mean, in terms of solutions quickly, because we've talked about the what,
yep.
And what we now want to talk about is the how. I mean, going ahead, women have lost out in the primaries, elections are coming. A lot of women are not going to be in the major elections. What should be the conversation to be having with the men, especially at the political party level, lobbying, negotiating spaces post-2023?
Well, the negotiating spaces. Now, women need to have an agenda, and one sole candidate cannot have an agenda for all women. Women need to come together more, speak with each other, rub minds, agree, negotiate, and take their agenda to the men, and really support the women that eventually are able to get there, to push these things through. Lobbying takes a lot. It takes a lot of, sometimes even resources, aside from convictions, aside from pleas, aside from negotiations. It takes a lot. So not just women in the legislative chambers, but women outside of it, in civil society, in careers, in professions, in businesses, they have to come together to continue to support those that will push for those laws when they eventually get there.
All right. And to the younger women who want to aspire, it's getting increasingly difficult. One, finance. Two, support, especially from the political party level. What's your message to them?
Sometimes in March this year, I was on a panel at the U.S. Embassy, American Spaces International Women's Day talks on how to bridge the gender gap. And I told the young women that you have to do what men are not doing. You have to be accountable, you have to be up to date, you have to continuously to make yourself better, self-develop yourself. You have to be honest, you have to be transparent, and most importantly, you have to be committed, not just to your work, but to your people who sent you there. So, you see, right now we have a lot of gaps and gray areas in leadership. If women are really serious about, especially young women, about aspiring for political leadership, they have to train and discipline themselves to be able to fill in those gray areas.
Wow. Okay, so in a nutshell, we're looking forward to your campaigns this September?
Absolutely.
So when do you commence?
28.
28.
Yes.
I see your flyers and some of your projects already ongoing, so we wish you the best.
Thank you very much.
Wish you the best.
I appreciate it.
We'd like to have you here to say congratulations, Honorable Member, Representative
It shall happen. It shall happen. Thank you very much, Adaora. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Well, we've been talking to Gambo, and like she has said to the young women, continue to research, develop yourself, and remember you have to do what the men are not doing, and that is be accountable, be honest, and be up to date. And we cannot wish her well enough, but we know that, you know, for even trying, she has dared the odds, and I'm sure that the best winner will be a woman, and she will take it all. No sentiments to that. We'll take quickly a break and then bring you social media messages before we shortly round up. Stay with us.
The just concluded elections in Kenya are a testament that with the right laws, policies, and affirmative action, women can thrive in whatever they set out to achieve. A record-breaking 7 women were elected as governors in different counties. Others were elected as members of parliament, senators, and members of county assemblies. Women now have a platform to support their communities and drive economic development at large. Historically, women across the world have faced significant barriers hindering them from participating in the political, economic, and social spaces. This is attributed to cultural barriers as well as levels of education and access to opportunities. Women as leaders and decision makers at all levels are critical to advancing gender justice and gender equality and to furthering economic, social, and political progress. As the late United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan had said, there is no tool for development more effective than the empowerment of women. A new report has revealed that Kwara and Ekiti states recorded the highest level of female genital mutilation between 2016 and 2021, with 58 and 50% of total cases respectively. The 2021 Multiple Indicator Cluster Survey, which was developed by the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, showed a significant decrease in the cases of female genital mutilation in Nigeria, while Kwara and Ekiti states accounted for more of the cases recorded among women aged 15 to 49 years. The lowest levels of female genital mutilation are found in Gombe and Zamfara states with no cases. The female genital mutilation is defined by the World Health Organization as any procedure that involves partial or total removal of the external genitalia and or injury to the female genital organs. For non-therapeutic reasons, there are wide variations in the practice of female genital mutilation across communities in Nigeria, either openly or in secret, regardless of the constitutional provision against torture and human degradation.
Well, definitely that is women in the news, and just in the news as well. Seychelles have just done their census and it came out that women are topping family heads in 55% families and just have about 23% of women represented in their parliament. That's quite a number. But let's take social media news quickly, and like I said, we'll be right back. Well, this one says, when will the federal government resolve the issues with ASIL because Nigerian youths are wasting away at home and engaging in bad vices? That's coming from Thomas Adebayo in all the way from Oyo State, and I'm sure that also is going out to the federal government to do something. And somebody says, well, this campaign is really worried because he's feeling like they say the devil's, well, the mind, an idle mind is a devil's workshop, and so many youths may be turned to campaign tools in this coming election. So we are really asking, what is the way forward with the ASU strike and bringing it to an end? But that's all we can take from you today, and we really appreciate your time, and thank you again to Honorable Gambo, seeing her at the polls, and I'm sure her campaign, once started, would be able to light up the spaces in Kaduna State, especially in her constituency. I am yours truly, Adora Onyetere. Thank you all for joining us, and remember, please stay safe. If you see something, do say something. Goodbye for now.
Let it ring around the world and never, never cease. So sing a song for women everywhere. Equality, development and peace. Women can't be silent.